Hi, I'm Alison from Alison's Astrology, and I'm here to talk to you this week about the week that begins the 16th of February until the 22nd of February 2025. So we're just coming out this week of that full moon across the Leo Aquarius axis that happened last Wednesday. And that was squared by Uranus. So it may have been fairly turbulent for some of you. And I do hope you're all okay and hang on in there. Yeah, it wasn't easy, I don't think. And this week, things move on. That's the great thing about astrology. It goes in cycles and things do move on. And so we're looking now at the beginning of Pisces season, proper Pisces season. And this is always good in the Northern Hemisphere as it's the last season before spring. It's a season really of dissolution, a season for letting go of kind of, just just releasing as we get ready for the new beginning with the spring equinox on the 20th of March, when the sun moves into Aries. And this getting rid this theme of letting go and of moving from the end of the zodiac to a new beginning is mirrored this year by both Neptune and Saturn, who are transiting from Pisces to Aries. So I urge you to listen to Terry and I discussing Neptune's shift into Aries. It's on the channel and the link is in the blurb, so that's worth checking into. So Mercury the Herald is already in Pisces, moved in last week, and the sign of the fishes is of course acutely sensitive to all the undercurrents and picks up what's unseen. So communication through the usual channels, rational thought, all that kind of thing, is maybe a little bit more difficult with Mercury in Pisces. Um, but it's time maybe now to listen to the imaginal world for a little while, to try and tune into that feeling vibe and just to kind of understand things through intuition and how you feel. But Mercury in Pisces is about music, poetry, and dance, and weirdly, it's also about computer coding, which I don't understand at all, but it seems to have an affinity with people with Mercury in Pisces do seem to have an affinity with computer coding. It must require that special mixture of just kind of science and intuition, but definitely poetry. Lots of great poets with Mercury in Pisces. Elizabeth Barrett Browning is one, and Kurt Cobain, of course, that fantastic musician. So on Tuesday, the Sun, our core energy, joins the messenger planet in Pisces, and I'm actually going to share the screen now and show you that chart. So there we are, and here we have the Sun just moved into Pisces. So we've now got this whole host of planets in Pisces, a real stellium there. So Sun, Mercury, Saturn, that's the part of fortune, which I use in my astrology. And also the North Node, of course, that important destiny point, and Neptune, which is co-ruler of Pisces, with the other ruler of Pisces down here, Jupiter, which is now direct, but still not really shifting away from that 11 degrees of Gemini. So anyone with planets or angles around that mutable, in the mutable signs, that's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. 11 degrees, you will be feeling that kind of hesitation as Jupiter's not really moving forward. You're not getting that action that you want, and you could still be kind of challenged and involved in discussion there. So the Sun in Pisces. Pisces is known to be imaginative, compassionate, dreamy, has a bit of a problem with Chronos time. That's, material world time, works better with Kairos time, I feel, which is that, that moment, the good moment for doing something. But prone to seeing things and people, of course, through rose-colored spectacles, likes to see the best in people. And people with lots of planets in Pisces can find it difficult to do what they want, especially if they've got Mars in Pisces, actually. They're often very externally referenced and they do feel they're much more able to activate themselves on behalf of others than they are on their own account. And they can tend to sacrifice their own will, as it were, what they want for other people. And in the long run, that can lead to can lead to health problems when you keep subliminating what you want and sacrificing yourself in exchange for other people. However, that's another issue, and Sun in Pisces can also be cold, actually, because it's a fairly impersonal sign, Pisces. You know, it loves everything. It wants to merge with everything. And the phrase cold fish is appropriate sometimes. It's not a fire sign after all. It doesn't have that burning warmth. And it's more just concerned with, you know, everything, the universe as a whole, than that one particular person. So, with the stellium in Pisces, if you are feeling emotional and even maybe a bit tearful, Pisces is prone to that. And if that is impacting some of your planets, or you have a lot of planets anywhere in Pisces, you can blame it on this. And Pisces is jointly ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. As I said, it's a sign that relates on a soul level. And with the complicated world situation that we have at the moment and the human suffering that we're witnessing sort of everywhere, really, around the globe, a lot of us are obviously witnessing it through the medium of computers and television, but nevertheless, you know, it comes right into our homes like that, right into our heads. It's very strong. And it might lead those of us who are tuned into this water signs of feeling and intuition, imagination, empathy, to be actually, you know, quite sad and tearful at this time. Imagination and empathy can be a gift and a curse. You know, imagining what other people's lives are like, that can be quite complicated. Anyway, it's because it's difficult to step back then and take a rational viewpoint. Is there a rational viewpoint? Well, that's something Pisces would definitely want to know, and probably wouldn't think there is. So Jupiter in Gemini, hovering at 11 degrees, and Jupiter's here writing the stories and creating the narratives that form the backdrop to our lives, form the meaning to our lives. It's always to do with faith and meaning. And at that point in Gemini, it's suggesting that meaning can be found in connection and communication and in bearing witness, being there. Journalism is a real Gemini thing, keeping records. And that's a much more rational sign. So maybe will enable the planets in Pisces just to take that little step back and keep enough emotional distance to think things through. So Gemini is also about siblings and neighbors, our local communities, the people around us, and things and people we interact with in our everyday lives. So these local connections, they may be increasingly important at this time, and maybe we need to kind of extend our compassion, our Pisces compassion, into the local community during this Pisces season and see who needs our help there. On the surface, though, the Pisces Gemini energy is changeable and adaptable. So it can move, it can shift, you know, it's not going to stay in one place. So if it has been sort of down, it can come up again and be more optimistic. However, there are very deep and fixed emotions involved on the 18th and 19th because the moon is traveling through the fixed emotional sign of Scorpio. And then on Thursday, the 20th, Mercury is challenging Jupiter from 11 degrees of Pisces. So we've got it there at, we're just going to move through actually, just a second. If I can manage to do that. I'm going to move through and show you that challenge. Whoops, that's gone too far. There we are. So Mercury in Pisces is squaring, that's that red line there, to Jupiter in Gemini. And the moon has now moved into Sagittarius. So this challenge, and Mercury at the moment is actually dispositing or ruling Jupiter. So it's kind of imbibing Jupiter with its well, it's a mutual reception, effectively, actually. So there's an understanding there, and I've just realised that, so that's great. I'm glad I realised it at this point, not 10 minutes after the video was finished. Mutual reception, which makes them able to communicate more easily, even though one is rational and one is emotional, so that's great. And that challenge to Jupiter from Mercury will actually get stronger the following day on the 21st, when that Sagittarius moon is going to move around to 11 degrees as well. So we've got all the mutable signs involved, Gemini, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius and Pisces. And Virgo is involved by implication because it's kind of at the apex, the other side of the cross. So mutable signs might be feeling this quite strongly. And what it means is that there are emotions around, yours and other people's, to deal with, I think, perhaps arguments and disagreements. And it could look like a scenario where one of you is trying to be helpful and rational, and the other one is coming from a much more emotional point of view, and that irrationality just doesn't help. And neither does the big picture with Sagittarius. People want detail, the Virgo, and that's what's missing. So if you do find yourselves involved in one of those discussions, trying to enter the space of the other person and understand how they feel, even if that's not actually how you feel, because there might not be an easy solution to these problems, but at least you can acknowledge each other's point of view and you can acknowledge the fact that you see things differently. So yeah, so the mutable nature of these signs is going to make the compromises possible, I think, and of course the mutual reception will help the understanding too. So I'm going to stop the share there and just come back to say hi to you all. And if you have enjoyed the content, please hit like and subscribe, and join me next week when Mars finally turns direct, hooray, although it doesn't move very quickly for a while and will hover a long time at that 17 degrees of Cancer. And we've got a lovely new moon in Pisces. So that's just wonderful. So I look forward to seeing you next week and speak to you then. Bye-bye.